I should say this too. I think a lot of the people who are talking about this were never this mega fracture. They were never mega anyway. You can look at Nick, who actively said, hey, I'm going to get Yang Gang. I'm going to get other people. He actively said he's going to get his crew to not vote for Trump, endorsing Kamala, all this stuff. And then everyone's like, well, MAGA's got a fracture. I'm like, how many of them really voted for Trump anyway? I don't know how many of them even vote. Like, I just don't buy it. I think a lot of it is just fake.
Who killed Charlie Kirk? A transgender furry's boyfriend, angry at Charlie Kirk for spreading hate, who climbed on that roof that fateful day and took a shot? Or was it something else? There's a rift happening on the right, and it surrounds a variety of topics, largely around anti-Zionism, as well as the killing of Charlie Kirk, which I think is probably the principal core, the moment at which the linchpin broke. Charlie Kirk was a good man, and he was holding the right together. I believe that he's notorious for having answered every text message. He would respond to everybody, and it was magic. I don't know how he did it. Well, Candace Owens has been making claims, insinuations, and investigating on her show, which she says is now the #1 podcast worldwide. And she's been heavily criticized by many on the right for pushing a claim that Charlie Kirk's murder was an inside job. But the bigger picture here, as far as I'm concerned, is the rift and the fracturing on the right and what it means for the movements or the bigger picture moving forward with Trump's plans, the midterm elections, who will succeed Trump. But I want to start with what is actually going on. Why is the rift? Why has it begun? And I'll start here with Grok, everybody's favorite large language model. Now, I'm not saying any of this is true. I'm showing you how this large language model actually responds to the arguments made against Candace Owens. With the question, has Candace Owens accused Turning Point USA of killing Charlie Kirk? No, it says. And feel free to pause and read through this if you'd like. We'll be joined by Jeremy Hambley in just a moment to go over all this stuff and talk about what's happening. They do highlight many statements she's made, where they say Owens has repeatedly promoted conspiracy theories that heavily imply Turning Point USA's involvement in a cover-up or facilitation of the killing, which many critics interpret as tantamount to an accusation. And I think that's what basically everybody's saying. She never explicitly said they did, but she has said inside job many times. In fact, I believe we have, maybe it's not this one. No, that's the Dead Man Switch video. The dark story involves donors, sponsors, influencers, a takeover of sorts that I think was happening right under Charlie's nose, effectively calling it an inside job. Though she did say in other clips it was an inside job. Grok continues. I said, has Candace ever implied Erica Kirk knew or was involved? Yes, Grok says. Candace Owens has implied that Erica Kirk knew key details about the circumstances surrounding his assassination, though she has repeatedly denied ever accusing Erica of direct involvement. They go on to say, on September 13th, Owens responded to an ex-user speculating about Erica Kirk's awareness of pressures Charlie faced, stating Erica knows everything. The post was posted shortly after the shooting in the context of Owens questioning the official narrative and suggesting an inside job involving TPUSA staff. This is, of course, Candace Owens saying that there were donors pressuring Charlie, and someone asked, did Erica know about the pressure? And she says Erica knows everything. On November 7th, she accused Ben Shapiro of fabricating a story that she accused Erica Kirk of killing her husband. Later that day, she reiterated on her podcast that equating her scrutiny of TPUSA's verifiable lies to accusing Erica of murder is beyond smearing. Backlash from the interpretations, of course, has resulted in the story I've just shown you. The overall, I asked Grok, how would you interpret what Candace has said in the context as a whole? What is the insinuation? It says, my analysis draws from the chronological pattern of her rhetoric, which starts with the immediate skepticism, builds up specific tips and inconsistencies, and escalates to broader systemic accusations. This isn't isolated sound bites. It's a sustained narrative arc that frames the event as a deliberate betrayal within conservative institutions, with TPUSA at the center. Owens positioning herself as the lone investigator uncovering verifiable lies, drawing parallels to historical cover-ups. The core accusation, Owens' overarching insinuation, is that Kirk's assassination wasn't a lone wolf act by Tyler Robinson, but an inside job orchestrated or enabled by elements within his inner circle in TPUSA, motivated by ideological clashes Kirk's alleged shift away from pro-Israel stances, and the internal power struggles, financial scandals. They say she stops short of direct accusations to avoid libel, but the cumulative effect through loaded phrasing, selective tips, and guilt by association implies complicity or foreknowledge by those closest to him, including Erica Kirk. Now, the one thing I can say is, if this is not true of Candace Owens, because I've only seen certain clips and I've only watched a couple of her episodes, I mean, what Grok has been saying about this is largely defamatory. It's not an explicit claim it mentions. It's, in some, Owens' narrative insinuates a rotten core in the conservative movement, with Erica as a symbolic gatekeeper to uncomfortable truths. It's less about proving murder than eroding trust in TPUSA's legacy, potentially reshaping alliances, her anti-Zionist pivot. If her teased big day delivers, it could solidify or implode this. Otherwise, it risks fading as performative outrage. Either way, it's peak Owens, provocative, polarizing, and profoundly disruptive. I want to play a little bit of this clip, and this will bring us into the discussion with Jeremy Hambley.
Because what it registers to me as is power. Real power hiding behind a veneer of victimhood, the kind of power that can take somebody out and end their entire career if that person says something that they don't like. And in this case, it's not that I'm saying things that they don't like, it's that I'm refusing to allow my voice to be controlled. I want to be clear to you guys. I'm going to be honest with you because everybody's noticing it. Every single political commentator in America, every single one of them knows this, that if you do not step out and say things that are radically pro-Israel, or if you are too quiet on certain narratives and they want you to be radically pro-Israel, you can lose everything. That's truth. That is a fact. I'm not.
Could lose everything, I guess. It's not true as far as we're concerned. And let's play more.
Not feeling like I need to hide from that anymore or be afraid to say it, rather, is a better way to say it, because I've endured this for years. I'm just at the end of my rope. I have given so much rope here, and I am just done with it. Every person that you are a fan of, they know this. Every person that you line up.
This is just lies. Look, man, I was a big fan of Candace for a long time. This arc that she's on, it's fake. Call it whatever you want. She can say whatever she wants. Israel shouldn't receive U.S. taxpayer dollars. Cut them off. I don't care. I am ambivalent. I don't care about Israel. The idea that everybody knows this. When Candace Owens recorded that clip, she was at the Daily Wire, it appears. She now is bragging about having the #1 podcast in the world. So certainly her anti-Zionist approach has done her well. That's not to say that there are lobbies and interests that want you to be pro-Israel. They certainly do. But this argument that your career is destroyed by criticizing Israel, it's silly to me. Now, of course, this is the point. The question of Israel largely as this dividing piece. So I'm going to bring in Jeremy Hambley. But wait, we're going to shout out a quick sponsor for you guys helping make all of this possible, and it is Bearskin at BAER.SKIN/Tim. You guys already know about the Bearskin hoodie, right? Well, if you've been waiting to get yourself one, now is the time. It's officially hoodie season. Cold mornings, windy days, surprise snow, and right now, Bearskin is running their biggest deal of the year. We're talking 60% off for this Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Now, it's not some old fleece. This thing is built with 340 GSM bearskin fleece, 10 pockets, and a rugged athletic fit that actually looks good on you. Plus, if it starts pouring, you can zip on the heavy storm rain jacket and instantly level up to full waterproof protection. You'll get free U.S. shipping from their U.S. warehouse and gear that'll last you season after season. So, here's what you do to get your 60% off. Text TIM to 36912. Again, that is text TIM to 36912. They'll send you a link. You can lock in your 60%. Buy it when you can. Don't wait till the weather gets really bad. Get a Bearskin now while the Black Friday deal is live. One more thing. When you guys support Bearskin, you're also supporting the Fallen Outdoors and Hope for the Warriors Veterans Program. So you're not just buying great gear, you're backing a cause that matters. Grab your Bearskin while this Black Friday deal is live. Text TIM to 36912. Shout out. Now let's get back to the story. Jeremy, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I am doing great, and thank you for joining me. I was just ranting a bit longer than I normally do on these subjects, so sorry to keep you waiting. But, going over Candace Owens' claims about lies from Turning Point USA, there's the general insinuation that there was anti-Israel sentiment at the core of why Charlie Kirk was really killed. Now, My understanding is she's never explicitly stated anyone did anything, but she has, I believe she has claimed, maybe I'm wrong, but, or at least heavily implied, that Robinson is not really the assassin of Charlie Kirk. And the reason I bring this up is the conversation, of course, that we're going to be talking about is like this rift, this divide that's been happening. You've got Tucker, the interview with Nick Fuentes. Now there's this big story about a resignation at the Heritage Foundation. Candace Owens has an anti-Zionist pivot. It's being referred to in media. And this, of course, is kind of at the core of the Charlie Kirk assassination story. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on this divide and these theories and the whole Israel thing.
Wow, that's loaded. That's a
lot, right?
Yeah, I guess you just eat the elephant one bite at a time. I think that there is a pivot that's undeniable with kind of the Israel stuff, and I think there are valid criticisms of Israel. I, like you, simply am not all that interested in it. That doesn't mean it's not important. That doesn't mean it's not, it's a great beat for people to be on clearly right now. But I do think that a lot of it is fueled. It's just, I don't know, Tim, but I know that it's fueled by, I believe, bot traffic and a lot of, look, if I was the left, let's say hypothetically, and I wanted to ensure that the right is, screwing up midterms, this would be a great way to go about it. I can't prove that, but boy, it sure seems, we're not talking about, we've got a lot of ground to make up in the midterms. We're talking about who should and who shouldn't be platformed. I don't care. Tucker Carlson wants to have whoever he wants. They even asked Trump about it yesterday. And Trump's like, I don't care. I don't care. Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about Gen Z having like this dread, this complete demoralization about not being able to, ever buy a home or get ahead. These are the issues that are going to matter in the midterm elections, which, the election cycle is going to start soon. So look, I think there are valid Israel criticisms. I wish they didn't invest so much money in our politicians, but I wish that was true about Qatar. I wish that was true about all these foreign nations.
China.
And I just feel like there is a real or fake kind of this, it feels inorganic. This suddenly, let me say this before, I'll say this. I've noticed of real, this probably angers some people, but I have noticed some things. Have you noticed that there is a real similarity in the way that kind of like the, not just the casual critics of Israel, I'm talking about the ones with like IDS, it becomes like their personality, much in the way that the LGBTQ community became their personality, in particular with trans people. Like, you can't say, hey, maybe this isn't important, because they take it really personal and they make it their whole personality. I don't think that's healthy for this country. I don't think it's healthy going forward. And I also don't believe that it's organic.
Yeah, there's this clip I just played before I brought you in where it's Candace, I believe when she was still at the Daily Wire, saying every conservative, every commentator you follow knows this, that if you don't toe the line for Israel, they'll destroy you. And I'm like, I don't know this.
I've never been told that.
Never experienced it, never been threatened. And, it's funny because I went to this meeting with Netanyahu as well as many other journalists, and that's proof to these people. It's proof. 7K club, they say, and all that. And I'm like, I've been sitting here saying the whole time, cut off funding to Israel. No more billions of dollars. They're on their own. I don't want to be involved in them whatsoever. And that's not good enough. That's still proof. These people are obsessed with the issue, and they turn everything into it. But that being said, I largely don't care about, I'm not going to change my opinion on the issue of Israel. I don't care. I'm fairly ambivalent. Because when I go to the grocery store, when I'm playing a poker game or whatever, I'm at the skate park, not a single person's asking me about Israel. They're asking you about tariffs. They're saying, like, what's up with these? Like, is this tax? Is it gonna make things more expensive? They're talking about rent, home ownership, 50-year mortgage is a big deal. So why are so many prominent individuals dancing over this issue of Zionism or Israel as if it's the most important thing in politics?
Well, it's because it's inorganic. I think that you have some group of them who are legitimately, I think Tucker has been legitimately criticizing Israel for some time now, maybe Candace too. But then like, it's kind of a fad in a way. Look, I was at an RC track, remote control car track, and people were asking me about the 50-year mortgage. Not one person asked me about Israel. And this is one of the very frustrating things. You have to I too I've literally said F Israel. But I still get every post. I'm like, maybe Israel isn't responsible for this. 7K, 7K, 7K. It's like,
Yep.
it is so bizarre. I have a long history of being America practically only. And I have people who are like, oh, you're a Zionist. I'm like, I don't even know what that means technically. I am so out of like, I'm worried about 100,000 Americans dying every year from fentanyl overdoses. I'm worried about, 25, 30 million illegals that we need to get out of this country. I'm worried about, people talk about H-1Bs. They don't even know that there are multiple other visa formats, not the H-1B, that still brings people into this country to take jobs from Americans. That is what I'm worried about. And I've tried, and I've been very heartened. You mentioned that you were getting kind of, I feel like it was you maybe talking about getting, it's demoralizing, right?
Yeah.
That is the correct word for it, because it's like, damn guys, nobody remembers 2018 to 2020 where Trump couldn't get anything done this final 2 years. He was getting impeached nonstop. That's what we're going to get if we don't fix, we focus on the issues that people actually care about. I'm not saying Israel doesn't need to be criticized, but nobody's talking about that. We're going to lose the midterms if all of our loudest voices spend the next 8 months talking about Israel and not talking about we had Candace Owens say, well, I'm not going to vote until I get the answer on Charlie Kirk. Essentially, saying I'm telling her millions of viewers that they should, implying maybe they shouldn't also vote. And it's like, I remember we're going to have that again. Trump's last 2 years not going to get anything done.
Over an issue that most Americans don't know or care about. And by all means, even if you believe Israel is the biggest problem we face or whatever it is you believe, sure, you're going to lose on your own issue if that's what you're yelling at people. So I put it like this. I'd like, let's see. I would like to see poker be allowed in certain circumstances in West Virginia, but it's illegal. Am I going to run for governor and say my platform is we should all play poker? No one's going to vote for me. No, you come out and you say, let me know how I can help you, vote for me, and then I'll take care of what I'm interested in after the fact. If the issue really was Israel, they'd be saying, let's get Trump to win and elect more Republicans who want to cut off the funding for these interventions in Ukraine, Israel, Afghanistan, Iraq, whatever it may be. But when they come out only on Israel, regular people are like, hey, look, man, I can't afford groceries. What are you talking about? So in that sense, it definitely feels like an op in some sense to destroy the right's message and to throw us off base. But especially on the Charlie Kirk assassination thing, I'll bring it to this.
Yeah.
You've now got this report from Tucker, of all people, that the would-be assassin of Trump was a they-them who was engaged in weird furry stuff. So when I hear that the FBI believes the key suspect of the Charlie Kirk assassination was also someone involved in this trans furry stuff, I'm like, well, we have a big list of people now, these mass shooters who are in this weird leftist ideology and getting violent because they're losing. Why then shift the argument to, no, actually it was insiders at Turning Point or Israel?
Well, that's what's been successfully done too. And I talked about, I stopped making videos about it. When you say like demoralizing, I was trying to fight against that and I was getting crushed. And I was just like, I can't, like, you start to get gaslit. I'm like, guys, you know that the left keeps killing us, right? There was a leftist that was, killed migrants. He was trying to kill ICE agents in Florida. Nobody talks about that anymore. We had, in my opinion, Tyler Robinson assassinated Charlie Kirk. Now, are there questions around it? Yes. Do I believe that his neck was made of superpower, whatever? No. But there are other explanations for what may have happened. I'm willing to wait for the investigation to come out. There is a very weird thing that happens too when you're like, hey, maybe it was Tyler Robinson. They're like, oh, well, you just believe everything the FBI says. You're not allowed to say like, yeah, I have questions, but also I believe Tyler Robinson is the most likely person. Look what happened. A YouTuber by the name of Turkey Tom interviewed their friend, a friend of Tyler Robinson and Lance Twiggs. He came out, a big narrative, and I don't want to name names, but a big narrative was, well, these texts aren't real. Nobody says my love. Nobody says vehicle, except this person who's close personal friends with them in the interview said, Tyler Robinson absolutely called Lance Twiggs my love. He did it all the time. So it's like, now everyone's talking about Israel did it. Oh my God, there were Israeli cell phones around. And it's like, well, I guess the left is just going to do another, they're going to kill another politician. because nobody's paying attention to it.
I was talking to somebody about this recently, and I agree with you. It's like we're in a similar space. I said, yeah, maybe the FBI's narrative on Charlie Kirk is not correct. There are questions I have. Some of these things certainly I think don't add up, but Occam's razor would suggest, especially based on the track record of the left, the violence they've engaged in, this person likely was, left-leaning or otherwise. And someone, so it probably is Robinson, but, who knows? We'll find out. We'll see it in the trial. And then someone asked me, yeah, but don't you think they're all acting very strange? Like the Turning Point people and Erica are acting. Yeah. This was someone directly quoting Candace to me saying, something like, Candace mentioned that Erica was aware of the donors and the pressure that Charlie was under, and that everybody who watches Candace always defends her and says she's never said Erica was involved. But
she's implied it very, very,
sure.
I mean, in my opinion, she's implied it heavily.
Agreed. Like, or that she's just blindly working with people who killed her husband and doesn't know. But they were like, these other TPSA insiders seem to be acting very strange. And so I asked, okay, honest question. In what can you reference any other high-profile assassination of a large political organization where the person's wife and friends acted in a different way? And yet the answer is no, because this hasn't happened before, or at least not in our lifetime in this way. And so my point is only, listen, I'm not here to say you're wrong on these theories or anything like this. Just that there's no metric by which to call it strange. It's just that you were told it feels strange. We don't actually know what, why, how, or it's hard to actually assess the facts in this matter. My bigger concern is Candace is allowed to talk about whatever she wants, be it Israel, Charlie, or otherwise, but it's pulling us off of the core issues that are going to win us a midterm and make sure on these deeper questions we win. It is fracturing the right.
And I believe that I agree 100%. And just so people, so you want to platform? No, Candace can use her platform to talk about whatever she wants. Tucker too. I tell people, look, I'm not interested in a lot of the stuff Tucker talks about, but you better believe I tuned in on Friday when he did an episode on the YouTube messages. The same thing with Candace. If she breaks a story that I'm interested in, I'll probably watch. Right now, I genuinely believe that she believes a lot of the stuff she's saying. I just don't know if she's getting fed stuff a certain way. I mean, isn't it possible that maybe somebody's feeding her information that, and gaslighting her into this because they know it's effectively dividing the right?
But again, when she says like every commentator knows that if you don't toe the line for Israel. Yeah, but hold on. Like, let me just say this. She's now bragging about being the #1 podcast, and right on. She's always been a massive presence, a massive person with a huge show, and it's even bigger now. But she's been anti-Zionist, critical of Israel for a long time now. Why haven't they come for her career? What's the argument that she made? This
or Tucker.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Tucker, by many accounts, is bigger than he's ever been.
Yeah.
Especially now with him being the center of this major controversy. They tried to silence him from Fox, but he's getting millions of hits on his show, and he's one of the top podcasts in the world as well. What is this narrative? And look at Nick Fuentes. He shot to the top of the Spotify chart, so they banned him for it. Now
he's as big as he's ever been right now.
And I'll be fair on you can make the argument Nick got banned, and he's critical of Israel, but other major Israel critics are not getting banned. And I will also add, Daily Wire views they're down. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't understand this argument that you have to be pro-Israel. It's by all accounts right now, it seems like anti-Israel is the path to viewership.
It's nonsense. I mean, I have almost 2 million subscribers now, and nobody has ever said anything to me about, hey, this is what you can talk about and this is what you can't talk about. That's just a fact. And I agree that I think that there are a lot of implications that are made with stuff like, well, everybody knows you can't be critical of Israel, which is directly refuted, like you said, in the fact that Nick is one of the top live streamers on Rumble, the platform where, yes, he got banned from YouTube. But let me also point out, he was banned not just specifically for, look, I think Nick is very entertaining, but I think even he would admit in his younger days, just like with me, he said stuff that was over the line and crazy that maybe he was banned for that, not necessarily being critical of Israel, but I'm not going to repeat some of the stuff. But, I think that there was a lot of heinous stuff that he said that maybe he'd even take back now. Candace is #1. Every podcast she puts out is fully monetized on YouTube. She has more sponsors than ever.
And mainstream
I think it's
sponsors.
nonsense.
She has like
Right.
high-profile, mainstream, normal sponsors.
Yeah,
So-
I never get those ads. I never get those kind of sponsors that she gets. She gets crazy good sponsorship. So it's just nonsense. It's like how the right or the left gaslights, like, oh, they're coming after me. Well, aren't you the #1 podcast? Well, but any minute now.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
Aren't
I
you?
mean, what about Tucker Carlson? You know, what about Nick? What about these people are all huge? And by the way, Nick is pretty regularly on the YouTube platform. It's not like YouTube's pretty lax with his ban. Like he's
Yeah.
allowed to do whatever shows he wants. So I mean,
I think for a lot of these people, they'll point to like Ye and they'll say, look at all the censorship over the people who criticize Jews. And it's like, yeah, but hold on. That was the general censorship period where if you targeted a group of people, you'd get banned. Like if you insulted or denigrated a group based on their ethnic or religious identity. So if you made a video attacking black people, they'd ban you. Jews, they'd ban you, but criticize white people all day and night. I think it's fair to say that these weird censorious social justice people were playing those games. Now, we've largely won on that front, and now you can be openly critical of basically everybody. So I don't think it was ever really an issue of Israel's banning you from talking about this, but social justice wacko leftists hated white people and banned anyone who disparaged any other group. That's why Candace today is doing really, really well, despite being particularly Israel critical and getting major sponsors. None of these companies are going, we can't sponsor Candace because she says bad things about Israel and implies Turning Point killed Charlie. They got no problem with it.
yeah, and I think that there are certain examples where I feel like we are hypersensitive to criticism of Israel. For example, when you have Pam Bondi coming, oh, we need hate speech laws.
Right.
And every time that happens, it's like, you know, I facepalm and I'm like, man, like this just proves kind of that movement correct when you're like, well, you have like Randy, we have certain politicians, Randy Fine being like very, very, very concerned about Israel. I think that stuff is gross. And that's what I mean. Like, I would agree with some of the issues. I just don't think that Israel is the most important issue right now when young people can't afford houses, young people can't afford to rent. We have 50-year mortgages sliding out there, and I have people in my mentions defending them. Like I sold cars. We sold a lot of 84-month loans, and I'll tell you what, it was never once somebody with a 700 credit score and who had a good idea about how money worked. It's predatory. It's bad. You'll own nothing and be happy. And everyone's like, yeah, but I'm like, no, we need to lower the prices of houses. We need to lower interest rates. Interest rates are 6.25% right now, 6.5%. My house is at 2.75%. I have golden handcuffs. I can never move. That mortgage is too good. Like there's a lot of things that will get people out to vote. And almost none of them, look, I should say this too. I think a lot of the people who are talking about this were never this mega fracture. They were never mega anyway. You can look at Nick, who actively said, hey, I'm going to get Yang Gang. I'm going to get other people. We don't, you know, he actively said he's going to get his crew to not vote for Trump, endorsing Kamala, all this stuff. And then everyone's like, well, mega's got a fracture. I'm like, how many of them really voted for Trump anyway? I don't know how many of them even vote. Like, I just don't buy it. I think a lot of it is just fake.
As to the Charlie Kirk conspiracy theories, I'll preface it again by saying, what do we know? We'll find out. Maybe there's evidence. It's funny because I've got sources. I'm sure you do too. I know people who know things. Without saying too much, let me just stress that these FBI people have been on Timcast before, that I've gone to the White House and I've interviewed DHS and Seb Gorka. I know a lot of these people, and I don't publish text messages from any of them. I'm not releasing emails or leaking anything. Where what I can say is this, based on my conversations, because, you know, like I hear something from Candace or about Candace, and I'll make a phone call. I'll be like, hey, like, what do we have on this? What's going on? And the general assessment is the evidence against Robinson is actually much better than people realize.
That's what I'm hearing too, Tim. I said people say wait till the trial. There will be no doubt.
Right.
That's what I get told.
And this is why Jack Posobiec and I think Erica Kirk and many were like, we want cameras in the courtroom. Because, so the question I get is, yeah, but why won't they then just release the evidence? Why won't the feds just come out and say, here's more proof? Why won't they release video? Because that will compromise a criminal trial. It's a very convenient position to be, isn't it, Tim? Like they know they can't release it to counter their narrative. And so I'm sure what's going to happen is everyone's just going to move on to the next thing as soon as the trial starts.
because it's a great time to make unfounded claims, because the FBI literally cannot refute anything. Like, we'll release the autopsy. They never did an autopsy. Well, actually, they did. They did several autopsies. Oh, well, what about this thing? And it's like, well, I can't keep up with it.
And again, I got no problem saying maybe they're all wrong. I don't know. What I've heard behind the scenes, private and public, meaning like from government and from corporations and from people in the know who have been involved, is that they're not going to release evidence that will lay out their arguments in advance. They will release evidence to the defense that they are legally required to. But if they issue a statement saying, here's our position, you are going to give the suspect advanced knowledge to the tune of years or months of what you're going to argue in court, and they're going to try and find ways to break that apart. And that could be fabricating alibis, or who knows what they might do. It is an absurdity, in my opinion, that they would expect a high-profile case to come out and be like, here's all the evidence, have fun, go for it, because then you're going to get an acquittal. So here's what I'm going to say that, people get mad at me about, but I'm not here to hold hands. I think Candace has a grudge against Turning Point.
I agree.
There's I guess a feud in 2023 is what I've seen people talking about, where there was an argument over with like Candace and Charlie. Candace, still really great friends with Charlie, stepped back and wasn't as heavily involved. And now that Charlie is gone, the people at Turning Point she does not like. I'll put it nice and I'll put it mean. She doesn't trust them. So to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. These are people who betrayed her, or who she doesn't like, or she thought was manipulating Charlie.
She thinks betrayed her, right? We don't even know.
And so maybe she's just biased. Worse, the worst case scenario is she's looking for a means to attack these people she does not like. What I can say is maybe she's right. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's more bias oriented. And I think it's this ongoing Charlie narrative is dividing the right in a way that doesn't help us in any way. So what I've said is, when people talk, to your point about Nick, and he's not really MAGA, he was pro-Kamala, he was anti-Trump. This is what I say of Candace. I don't see her as being a Republican or conservative commentator. She's an influencer podcaster who talks about Blake Lively and Bridget McCrone being a man. That's her accusation. These are not principal issues of policy, debate, elections. It is true crime and drama. And so if she's going to do a true crime drama thing as it goes with Charlie, I'm not all that bent out of shape, because it's not the right. Now, the Tucker thing does bring us into this rift with a resignation from Heritage and all that. But even Trump just comes out right now and says Tucker can talk to whoever he wants. So perhaps it's not really that bad, so long as what's demoralizing is the Candace thing is pulling conservative commentators into a drama sphere instead of staying focused on policy.
I'll tell you this, Trump, last week, it felt like this was the worst week of the Trump presidency, and that everything was falling apart. And I tweeted on Friday, X'd on Friday, like, everyone just relax. It was a bad week, we admit it. But like, look what happened. Trump came out and said, look, Tucker can interview whoever he wants. And oh, by the way, release the files. Yep. So like everything that everybody, that's why I say it's like there is bot traffic, or there's an actual effort to like demoralize and break apart the right, because it's like everybody on Friday was like, oh my God, it's all falling apart. And I'm like, guys, do you, but like, do you not remember 2016? This is who Trump is. Yeah. He does crazy stuff, and then he comes back, and most of the time he fixes it. And now, go ahead.
No, finish.
I was saying, like, him calling this stuff a hoax, I think I actually understand now. I think he thinks that he's in the files is a hoax, and that's why he says hoax. But like, now he read the room, or somebody got in his ear. This is where we miss Charlie the most. I think Charlie would have gotten in his ear much sooner. And like, now he's like, hey, well, let's release the files. Let's get back to talking about how we're winning. I'm like, yes, thank you. And now everybody who was chicken littling on Friday can flip and relax.
I want to just say one last thing too. I remember when DeSantis was the favorite to win the Republican nomination back in like 22, and the right was fighting each other like crazy. The pro-DeSantis side ripping apart the MAGA side, and we were like, oh no. And then Trump wins. The DeSantis people all come back together, and then Trump goes on to actually win the actual election. So even with all of this demoralization and rift, I'm willing to bet this. I'm sure in the event Candace hears that I have criticisms of her, my show's nowhere near as big as hers. But in the event it comes across it, I'm sure she'll have a rebuttal or privately have a rebuttal. She doesn't need to say anything to me. But I know that probably when we get to 28, we're all going to be on the same page again, being
I
like,
agree.
We got to win, especially the midterms too. So that's what I'm hoping. So let's enjoy the bickering for now. But I think it'll come together. Yeah. Any final thoughts you wanted to add on this before we wrap up?
I think we agree on that. I think after Christmas, and then when the midterm election cycle starts, everybody's going to be back on path. We already saw Trump kind of say, all right, here's your dang files, okay? And let's get back to work. That's how I felt. Trump's going to do some wackadoo things, but I think ultimately the guy is a chaotic good, and he's going to be fine. and that the political voices, the people who actually want to get people out there and vote, they're going to recoalesce, and it's going to be a fight, but it's going to be about, Trump talking about Massey's wife. Ugh, that was bad. Like all that stuff, like that's as bad as Trump gets, but now we're getting good Trump. Like get back on it. And I feel confident that after Christmas, and but the Kirk trial starts, that's going to help too.
Yeah.
His evidence will actually start to come out. So I'm still optimistic. I am not doom-pilled. And I think that there are many distractions, but they will simply go away when the midterm. People will remember who the real enemy is.
I agree. Right on, brother. Well, hey, man, it's been really great hanging out. Where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm on YouTube and Rumble. I'm live on Rumble at 2 Eastern. So if you're looking for something to watch, you've got your Tim fix, and now you need like a portly Midwestern guy. I'm on there, and I'd love to see you on the live show. And I appreciate you having me on, Tim. It's always good to talk to you, man.
Right on, man. Anytime. Thanks for hanging out.
See ya.
That, of course, is Jeremy Hambley, a.k.a. The Quartering, joining us today. So really do appreciate you guys tuning in. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Become a member of our Discord community. I'll say one final thing. I went on Candace's show, and I went and visited the Daily Wire a couple of years ago, and I think she's a genius. I really do mean it when I say it. I've been familiar with some of her work, and I went on her show, and there was a bunch of issues that were going on that I had analyzed. I had looked up the evidence, and quick as can be, she nailed every point. She saw through manipulations and lies. I was very, very, very impressed. As for right now, I'm not even necessarily saying she's wrong. I do take issue with like this hyper focus on Israel. But, the one thing that always does give me pause is I haven't forgotten, and I know a lot of people don't like Candace. I haven't forgotten when I went on her show and how astute and intelligent she was. You don't get to number one on accident. So I don't think that she's simply making mistakes. I think bias potentially plays a role in this, her concerns over Turning Point. And then maybe she's right. What do I know? I think that merit goes a long way. And there's a lot of people, they're usually leftists. They take a look at someone like Candace and her success or Tucker, and they're going to say it's because they're liars, because they're grifters. I don't do that. I take a look at someone like Candace and Tucker, and I think to myself, what am I doing wrong? And with that being said, I do have tremendous respect for Candace, even if I think she's wrong or deserving of criticism. And that's why I always say, when it comes to calling people out, there's the benefit of the doubt that I give to people that are typically correct on issues. And if I think someone's wrong, I'm going to say I think they're wrong. We'll see. I think it's all going to work out in the end. But other than that, hey, it is what it is. Smash the like button, share the show. Stay tuned. We got more to come. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. And we will see you all tonight at 8 p.m. for Timcast IRL.